Hey everyone, and welcome to an emergency edition of Board Game Buys. So I usually record this video towards the end of every month, but the UK Games Expo is currently going on and I've just got back from it. So I thought this is a good time to strike when the iron is hot and talk about all of my purchases. So I think we have 27 games here or so we've got quite a few games to go through, so I think it's best if we get cracking. But as usual, be sure to check out KIENDA.co.uk, a great sponsor to the show, and as usual, be sure to check out their great website. But let's get cracking with In the Footsteps of Darwin. So this, I think, was one of the feature games of the expo. A lot of stores selling this one. A brand new, hot off the presses, family weight set collection game that's beautiful to look at, lovely artwork. I'm not expecting wonders with this one, but I'm expecting it to be a good game of its type, and hopefully something we can get to the table regularly and without much fuss, without much to siphoning through the rulebook to realise how to learn to play the game again. So hopefully this is going to tick a lot of boxes for what I want for a set collection game while looking beautiful in the process. So that is In the Footsteps of Darwin. Next up we have Peanut Club. So this is an auction style game where you have multiple currencies that you're collecting, and then each lot might compete in a different type of currency. So you could have loads of one type but not so well of another type, meaning that there's potential there to get some bargains or of course run up those big bidding wars. That's pretty much all I know about this one. I've heard it's pretty chaotic, but if I'm in the right mood, that could be some fun there, and it definitely sounds different. And amazing artwork as well, and then these cool little boxes. So yeah, I actually love the art style for Peanut Club. I've got the new maps for Get On Board. So Get On Board, a game I've really liked in the past. I've got the New York and London map. This is the Paris and Roma map, but it's the metro version. So you have different mechanisms in terms of the traffic and things. This one's a bit more forgiving, but it's pretty much more of the same stuff. So I'm not sure if I'll give a full review of this one because it is so similar to the original, which I love. I've got some games here that I picked up in the Bring and Buy at the expo. So we have this amazing Bring and Buy feature where people just turn up with their games. You can go in there and pretty much buy lots of stuff for very cheap, which is what I've done. And I've managed to find some little gems here. So this is Perfect Alibi, which I got for a ridiculous price. Great design here. Christian Osby made some great games, and this is a more traditional deduction style game. And this is one that I was looking at many years ago when I first got into the hobby. I tend to like deduction games. I don't want it to go too long. It's just 30 to 45 minutes. Maybe, is it going to be as good as some of the other ones I have, such as Awkward Guess, such as Sleuth? I don't know, but I found it at such a good price, £7 I think it was. It was definitely worth a try. So that is Perfect Alibi, still in shrink as well. We picked up a copy of Saint Marlo. Now this, from what I believe, was one of the original roll and write style games by Marcus and Inka Brand, actually. I don't really know too much about it. This was a purchase by my brother, but I've heard it's really good. Over the years, I've had pretty much unanimously good things all said about this one. So out of all these games, this is probably right up there, probably top 20-30% of the games I'm most looking forward to out of all of these. So that is Saint Marlo. Bit of a strange game here for me to talk about, but this is Nothing Personal. So Nothing Personal, this is another game that I picked up pretty much because of the price. I got it at a very low price. I know this game has its fans. It also has its people who don't have too many good things to say about it. But I do like negotiation games. The only thing that puts me off this one is the fact that it is 2 hours long. So I'm not sure if this is one I'm going to get to the table anytime soon, or if at all. But we shall see. I'm going to have a look through the rulebook, see if it's worth that time investment. But the 120 minutes seems a bit steep, and I know the revised edition of this one was certainly quicker than that. So maybe this is going to go right at the back burner. But I'm intrigued by it, and I do want to play it eventually. So that is Nothing Personal. Also picked up a copy of Cuba. So this was also from the Bring and Buy. So Cuba is actually based on, I've played a game based on Cuba, which is called Santiago de Cuba. I believe it's the same design duo, Michael Renick and Stefan Statler. And I really liked Santiago de Cuba as an accessible gateway Euro. This one is the heavier kind of version of it. But I still, it looks very similar to what the original one did. And as you're going around these ports, collecting these goods and using them to fill up these contracts, basically, or these demand tiles. I really did like the original. It was a little bit too light for me, despite being, very enjoyable. This one could have taken it to that next level that I want it to be. But again, my only bit of apprehension is that it can go up to 2 hours, but it does say 75 to 120 minutes. So maybe at that 2 or 3 player count, which I normally do play at, this one could still be a good option. So this one could be a sleeper. So that is Cuba. I think out of all of these, that's probably one of the heaviest games I have. I also picked up a copy of Elysium. This is a Brett Gilbert and Matthew Dunstan co-design. Great design duo and made some fantastic games in the past. And this is another game that I've heard quiet but positive ramblings about over the years. Lots of soft recommendations to me about this drafting set collection game where all the cards have different powers and things that you can utilise to try and benefit you. I believe there is some take that in the game, so we'll wait and see to see how significant that is. But I love the art style. I love the look of it, that's for sure. And a good design pedigree. And it seems like this one could be another hit for me, but we shall see again. A mix of some smaller games here now. So I picked up a copy of Fuji Flush. Freedom and Freeze design, a simple card game, right up my alley. It's a shedding game as you are trying to get rid of your cards. But you do that by trying to play higher numbers. But if you cannot maybe trump somebody who's played a high number, you can team up with the other players and try to build up your numbers to kick them off their spot, basically. I have played this one. It's really good. So we shall talk about it maybe more in a collaboration video or something like that. So that is Fuji Flush. More small card games now. I picked up a copy of Splitto. This is one that I've had my eye on for a while, actually. I'm not quite sure if it's going to have the depth, but we shall see. But I believe it's a somewhat semi-cooperative game as you are playing cards in relation to where your neighbours are sat. So you are kind of, you're not only focusing your own thing, you're focusing on people adjacent to you. And I love a small box card game, so hopefully this is a good one. Picked up a copy of Spicy. Spicy is a bluffing game, 2 to 6 players. I believe you are trying to shed your cards again and hopefully play them face down without somebody calling your bluff and catching you, basically. So you are trying to lure them into traps, maybe get them to call your bluff and they get punished, and vice versa. I tend to have a hit and miss relationship with games like that, but this one is supposed to be a really good one. It sounds like it's got some interesting little twists on that framework, and it looks amazing as well. I love this kind of gold embossed card look. It looks fantastic. So that is Spicy. I visited the Emperor S4 stand and picked up a copy of World Exchanges. So this is I think it's a roll and write style game that's built on this kind of like a stock market mechanism as you are trying to plan out this graph in certain ways to benefit you. A new fresh lick of paint on this mechanism. I'm quite interested to see how that works, and that was enough for me to be interested in this game. I've had my eye on it for a while. It'd be very difficult to get hold of in England at the moment, so it's really nice to see Emperor S4 have their own stand there and finally get a copy for myself. So that is World Exchanges. Always interesting to see new and fresh takes. Another one of the kind of feature games of the expo was Rome in a Day by Alicat Games. I know this one got a little bit of buzz recently because the Dice Tower crew did enjoy this one. But this is an I Split You Choose game, which is a mechanism that I tend to enjoy with some very minor tile placement. But from what I've heard, and by all accounts, the I Split You Choose mechanism is good and it's strong, and I do enjoy that puzzle. So again, this one could be a nice little small box game with some good decisions there, but not too much, and a good balance between having stuff going on, but not being too long and too drawn out. Something I wasn't expecting to see is Twisty Tracks. So this is a game that I had on my my watch list, on my or on my radar basically. Now, from what I understand, and this is by Jeffrey Allers, who's again a great designer, it's a really souped up kind of like a game like Suro but on steroids. So you're placing these tiles out, you're having to follow your train along the tracks, visiting different spots and things, and that's the core mechanism. So I did really enjoy Suro, but I thought it was a little bit too quick and a little bit too throwaway. Whereas this one could be a bit more involved, because I think you have your own player boards here by all accounts, managing your different train lines. So yeah, this one actually sounds really appealing to me, and yeah, this one could be one that's flown under the radar. Nobody really talking about this one, considering it is a brand new release, but hopefully the gameplay is strong and I can spread the word about how good it is. So fingers crossed that is going to be the case for Twisty Tracks. I picked up a new copy of the new Ra. You guys know that Ra is one of my favourite board games of all time. Now, this is not the deluxe version. This is the new retail version with the Ian O'Toole artwork. I thought, you know what, let's treat myself to the new, the nice new version of one of my favourite games of all time. I do have the old battered Alea version, so it's nice to get an upgrade here. This one has these cool player boards where it tracks all your scoring rather than just having them in front of you. And I think that's really going to benefit me because I do play Ra a lot. And I was very happy to pick up a copy of this one and upgrade my own personal game, for one of my favourite games ever. So that's always a good thing. So that is Ra, the new edition by 25th Century Games. Some more games here from the Bring and Buy. So this is Industry. So funny enough, this was a game I was just about to play. I was thinking about paying retail prices for, but I found it in the Bring and Buy for, again, dirt cheap. And this is completely unpunched as well. It's a Michael Shot auction game or bidding game with quite a busy looking board, if I'm honest. I think that might be a bit of an obstacle because the board isn't the best in terms of its layout. But I believe you are basically connecting a bit of a network between all these different things, getting points in different ways. I'm sure there's no real urgency to get this one played and reviewed, so it will be on the back burner, but nice that I had the opportunity to pick it up at a reasonable price and actually add it to my collection without paying those full fees, I suppose. I picked up a copy of dirkheads Alhambra. A bit of a guilty confession, I suppose, that I've never played this game, despite being considered one of the greats, really. A Spiel des Jahres winner back in 2003. Now, I know there is a lot of big box versions of this going out there. This is just a simple, straightforward base game. So I'll see how we get on here. I know it's one of the forefathers of the tile placement genre of games. So if it's good, maybe we'll look at injecting some new material to it to add a little bit more meat to the bones, because I am expecting it to be pretty light. But I know there is tons of additional material out there, so I can cherry pick what I want should I like the core experience. But this is another game I got for a great price at the Bring and Buy. And I also picked up another Istari game here, bearing in mind that Industry is another Istari, and I'm trying to try out all of their games because 9 times out of 10 I enjoy them. This is Bombay. So Bombay, designed by Cyril Dimage, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he made Sulla, which is a game that I really enjoyed by him in the same line of games by Istari. This one, I think it's a bit lighter, a pick up and deliver game as you're moving these elephants around the map, delivering cubes and things. Production looks really nice. I don't think this is terribly well reviewed, but I do want to try all the Istari games, and some of the games in that line have not been good reviewed or well received by audience and critics, and I've enjoyed them. So this one could be another one of those. So that is Bombay. Moving on then to some other little bits. So I picked up the language-dependent cards for Hamburg and Amsterdam from Queen Games. So, I do really like Amsterdam and Hamburg, or it was Bruges and Macau. But the symbology for those cards is pretty overwhelming. It's quite daunting. You have to constantly reference the rule books. These ones have the rules printed on the cards, so I can replace the ones in the box and hopefully make this a lot more accessible and easy to get to the table. So I think it's definitely worth the investment. And for me personally, they were quite pricey. I think there was like £10 and £15 for the Hamburg ones. So it's £25 for both of them, just for some cards. But hopefully that will pay off when I actually get it back to the table. I picked up a copy of Nomalia. So Nomalia, I've played this one already. This is a very simple overlapping cards game. You know, there are quite a few of these out there, but this one has the Isle of Skye style scoring, also made famous in games like Cartographers, where each round a different combination of scoring cards will trigger. Again, you're playing these cards out with these animals on, overlapping them and trying to get as many points as you can. I'll probably review this one in full, very simple, but there we go. Picked up a copy of The Number. So The Number, just been printed by Repost Productions. I think this is a few games old. It's actually a Japanese game. Hisashi Hayashi, another designer of great pedigree. And this one sounds right up my alley, as you are trying to write a 3-digit number down, and I think you're trying to be the one to write the highest number with no duplicates beneath it. So or something like that, and then you basically get points based on the first number in your first column. So that, for me, it might sound like a bit of a non-game to some people, but for me, that's really, those really are the kind of games that I enjoy and that play well with my family. So this one I've actually got really high hopes for. That is The Number. We picked up a copy of Valbara. This is another brand new game. I think it's come out in 2023, and this is based on the kind of simultaneous selection mechanism where all the cards have initiative values and a power on them, which will affect other cards, and they correlate to these scoring cards as well. So we do have a game called Libertalia in our collection. This we very, very rarely play, actually. So to get a Libertalia style experience in a small box like this could be really useful, because it would save a lot of space, and maybe even get it back to, or get games like this to the table more frequently, because this is only 25 minutes, 2 to 5 players, whereas Libertalia, you normally want a higher player count and it does take a bit longer. But getting some good feedback at the moment, and a really good price. I was expecting a bigger box for this one, actually, but it's actually just a small card game. So that is Valbara. My brother picked up a copy of Rescuing Robin Hood. Don't really know too much about this one, if I'm completely honest. All I know, it is a cooperative deck building game. Those two things are normally red flags to me. I don't really like co-op games. I'm not a huge fan of deck building games, but who knows? The jury is still out for Rescuing Robin Hood. For a bargain price of £14, I picked up a copy of Rocio. A bit like a Perfect Alibi. This game was one that was on my radar quite a few years ago, and I just dismissed it because I could never find a cheap copy out there, or an affordable copy, or I wasn't really willing to pay full price for it, despite looking appealing to me. But this is like a pattern building game, as you are laying out these tiles on this road, and then you're scoring based on these objective cards. So that's as simple as it is. I tend to like puzzly games, I tend to like pattern building games. So for £14, this one was definitely worth a punt, and it's got a nice look to it as well. So that is Rocio. On to the last few games now. Probably my biggest surprise to find at the expo. This is Finca. Finca, actually really difficult to get a copy of this in the UK. But they were selling it there, so that's great, and this is an English version. So this is a very simple rondel style resource management Euro. Don't think it's terribly heavy, but I've had some of you guys persistently recommend this one to me, so I'm finally got my hands on it, and hopefully I'll get it played pretty sharpish. I am of course going to have to prioritise some of these latest games over the older ones, because I'm not sure if a lot of people are screaming out for a review or coverage of Finca, but I'm looking forward to it, that's for sure. Bit of an odd one now. We have Black Friday, another bring and buy game. This one is an economic game by Freedom and Freeze. So we mentioned earlier that we like Freedom and Freeze games, Fuji Flush, Power Grid, Fiam, all these games I really do like. And this is again his idea on an economic stock market style game. I don't really know much more about it than that. I think it cost us £5, or my brother £5. So yeah, very, very cheap and definitely worth a shot at that price. So that is Black Friday. Another big surprise to find at the expo was Manila. Again, this game is like gold dust, very difficult to get a copy. And I believe this is a family-friendly bidding and kind of a gambling or wagering style game. Now, that's all I know about it. Okay, this was picked up by my brother. It's one that he went in there looking for specifically and right on the top of his wish list. So really intrigued to see how this one plays. That is Manila. And the final game of all of these is East India Companies. So I believe this is a new one out as well. Maybe came out last year. But this is an economic, I believe it's got a supply and demand mechanism in it. Pretty dry looking, but this is right up my alley, as you guys know. So again, very reasonable price to try this one out. So there we go. This is just kind of my jam, I suppose. That's East India Companies. So that's all of the games that we picked up at the expo. Tons of things to try out here. Of course, again, I have to prioritize some of these based on the demand to see coverage of them, but I'm sure I'll get distracted and end up covering what I want. So there we go. If you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. If you're at the UK Games Expo, have a great time. I think it was probably one of the best ones, if not the best one that I've ever been to. And I've been quite a few years now, really back to full force. And yeah, really enjoyed it. So that is, I definitely always recommend going out to check out the UK Games Expo if you haven't done so. But as I said, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye-bye.